Let us now take a look at how we can create a more advanced powder-coated material. Something like this. It's actually quite interesting. So we have two tones and we have some cavities that are eating into it. We use Google for a moment to look around for references. We can even find examples like here. It looks like there is a polyurethane film or coating that goes over it. So how can we create kind of like such an organic looking material? It's actually pretty easy. Okay, so let's go to Blender. Here is uh, my metal part with the basic powder coated material on it. I would like to add a different material to this, but not lose this um, basic powder coated steel material. To do this, we can click on this fake user. So that means now when this here is set to 0, meaning this material is not used by any object. And when we quit Blender, Blender does not discard the material. Blender actually has a built-in auto purge function. Okay, anyway, to create now a new material, we click X, click new, and then we can type in powder coated steel advanced. Okay, let's take a look one more time. So we have kind of like cell structures, plateaus. How can we do this? Pretty easy actually. So we know definitely we will need the texture coordinate system at one point. Shift A, and let's take a look at textures. What could we use in here? And Voronoi, that is a procedural shader that generates kind of like a hammered or cell structure look. Okay, so let's connect this. We know this definitely has to be higher, and distance we connect to there. Let's zoom in a little bit more. Shift middle mouse button. And now there you can see the structure. So we set this to 1000 or 200. There you can see the different impact. By the way, if we only use color, then we actually get more cell structure. And when this, for example, we would turn RGB to black and white, so the color we turn into black and white, there's our galvanized steel texture, by the way, just as a side reference. So let's go back to distance to there. We want to adjust the size, 1500. So from a distance, does this look good? This actually could be useful to look at our object, try to estimate the size, estimate now the camera distance, and then look at references. How far is this effect good? Too small, too big. Here's another look. Uh, okay, so maybe we'll set this to 1000. That seems to be kind of like okay. Can zoom in a little bit more. So we use this to feed in the color. Then we now Shift A, convert bump distance to height. This definitely will be lowered. Normal to normal. And when we zoom in now a little bit, look at that. It looks like a hammered surface. So what this procedural node is doing is simply creating the look of these cells, and we have from white to black a transition, and that basically creates this effect of what you see there right now. Like I'm taking a hammer and I'm covering the whole surface with hammer hits. That's actually the way how we would do a texture, like a hammer textured surface. Now, what we are looking for, however, is, when we go back here one more time, you see we have cavities and plateaus. So how do we do this? Well, we need to adjust now this from black to white transition. We know we can do that via a color ramp. So Shift A converter color ramp. There we are. Then when we move these around, okay, so there I'm actually adjusting the bottom to kind of like the valley, and then this is for, yes, it is for the plateaus. Okay. And there you can see now how this starts to look more like those eaten surfaces. Maybe this value is too small, maybe we can, oh, it's okay, this is too big. 2.5. There. Okay. Um, let's say this is actually good. What is not that useful yet is actually the surface is very smooth. We would like to roughen this up a little bit more. This is not like super smooth. There is some structure to it. That is actually really nice where you can see how we have all these eaten pieces there. Okay, so we want to mix into this bump more information that not only defines this surface going up and down, but also roughening everything up one more time. So we will do the following. We just need another noise texture. Well, we'll just use noise. Definitely 1000, I would assume we need to quickly verify the size. Here we put this one into there. And here in the shadow area there we can see how big is this texture. Now this is too big. This is actually good. Detail level, roughness, we can actually pump this up. And this is nice. Detail level 4. Yeah, okay, maybe keep it this way. Goodie. So let's remove this. So we only see right now the bump mapping. And then this I will feed in here. But the problem is when I do put this in there, you see my Voronoi input is removed. So I need to mix these two things together. So we need the mixer. Shift A, color, and look at that, RGB mixer. We can plug one in there, this one plug into there. Here we have a slider, left and right. So only show 1, only show 2, or 0.5 show both equally. So 50%. There, now you see there's actually something happening. No? If I go back to here, you see only this A or only B, or 0.5, 50% of each. We could also say 0.25. We just add a little bit of the noise texture to it. Super easy to do. Okay. Now, let's go back. Here we also have various colors. You see blue and white, how we do that. So, actually the same tool. We can do this color mix. And then here we can put this one into the factor. So this will define how these colors are now being mixed. I hope you start noticing how logical actually this material system is. True, when you're new to it, it's like, what's going on? But there's pretty much a clear logic behind it. So this should maybe be our white, and then this should be our blue valley. Okay, now there we see this. gentle movement. Yeah. Okay. Try to move this very gentle. Yeah. Good. And if we now adjust maybe this, you see how everything then is being affected. Not only how the color is being mixed, but also how the bump mapping is mixed. And I guess this all comes actually from here. It's kind of like a flowchart. Think about it, a mind map. We are chaining commands together. Okay, so this is actually one type of a more hammered look. Let me show you now how we can take this and make a variation of this. I will press A, Shift D, move this one down. Again, we have one material, but we can have two different definitions, material 1, material 2. And here now this Voronoi we delete. Then Shift A, and we use a different texture. Musgrave, I hope I pronounce this correctly. Then same steps. Let's actually first take a look at how this looks. Uh, 500. Ah, this is interesting. You see, it has a different grain pattern. This looks more like islands. This is actually closer to this type of a material. The Voronoi is more for like holes. This is more, well, another mathematical fractal. Sorry again for my very quick mouse movements. When you zoomed in so far, tiny movement makes the screen move a lot. This definitely needs to be a tick smaller, maybe like this, or 1250. Okay, good. So let's redo the same. So when I plug this one into here and then connect the mixer into the color, let's see what's happening. Okay, interesting. So we bring this to there, bring this to there. So the problem we're seeing here right now is that this color ramp is really messing actually with my result a lot. So I can bring this in, I can bring this in. It plateaus actually everything in there significantly. I'm not so sure if I really like this. Let's do a little test. So for the moment, so I can much quicker adjust my materials, and every time when I do something, the system doesn't try to update everything. I simply switch to shaded view, move those to here, there, Shift D there, and so this is black. I can drag. Oh, do you still do this? Come on. I can drag the blue onto the black. Yep. And the white is the same. Okay. Because I'm curious, how will this actually look? So show me. This computer I'm working on is from 2013, so it's a little bit older. It might be easier to turn things off when adjusting a lot. And here I will connect this one to there. So I can see with the color ramp, how does this look versus just a basic color mix. And actually the difference is not that much. Maybe a multiply, let's see. Yeah, so we go back to mix. This is actually not white, so let's move this one to white so we can see this better. Okay, goody. Well, basically that means then, yeah, we can actually use this layout for this, and we bring this back one more time. It is a little bit sharper, I feel. And maybe it's just, no, it's actually exactly the same. Yeah. Okay, very good. Now we figured out that problem then. So we can keep this for the coloring. This looks good. Now how do we do the bump mapping? Shift A. We can do converter color ramp because we figured out. So the thing that confused me a little bit when I put the height in, I want to do this one more time, but without any adjustment. Yeah, this is actually pure black. And when I put this in, yeah, okay, so this is good. So it's the same result. I just confused myself. Okay. Not a big deal. This way you also were able to see some of the process and additional means to explore materials and these values. So here we put this up. Let's go back to the rendered look. So this actually feels better. 0. Yeah, I think for the bump mapping, that is where we really saw a big difference when we just strictly only use this. Yeah, no? So there you can see this. So uh, the subtle values that are come out for the bump mapping are really clipped when we do a color ramp, no? As you were able to see. So for the bump mapping, then we want not to use this color ramp because it's also nice and noisy. We don't really need the noise because this does it all for us. But with this now, what we can do, we can adjust and play with the color. So again, this is kind of like also the color mixer, but and the level at the same time. And here actually you see now how we have this value part. So this is a nice black and a nice white. And now to colorize it, this is my mask. Think about it like when you spray something on a wall with a stencil. This is kind of like a stencil. Bring this in there, mix, and then we can say, so yep, this is the blue. This should be the white. We don't really go pure white for the material because we don't have pure white in real life. But when we mix, now we really need yes or no. So pure white, pure black. In that case, it's totally fine to use white. Okay, that's just a difference there. Okay, let's take a look. Yeah, I'm from a distance. That is pretty close too. So to bring this to an end, and just one note again. Yes, all these mathematical procedural nodes show limits when we zoom in a lot. That's just the way how it is. Because otherwise we could use math to code this look, but nobody really wants to do this. From a distance, however, we don't really see this much. And keep in mind, here in this rendering, this is kind of like the material as a close-up we just saw, but seen from a distance. We don't see something that is wrong when we're further away. What I'm trying to say with that is what we do here is fine because we're creating illusions. And as long as the illusion works, we did our job. So that's perfect. Okay, very good. So this is then how we can actually make a very basic, more advanced looking powder coated steel material.